Welcome to Books and Looks, where we do a deep dive with authors to help you discover your next great read. And what if I told you about a woman, a slightly overweight woman, who was a financial director, who smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, got winded in running less than a kilometer, and yet she went on to become the fastest woman to ever run around the entire world? Marie Leautey reveals how an ordinary woman with no athletic background transformed herself into a world record holder. She ran 28,249 kilometers across 4 continents in 825 days. Some people train to run a single marathon. Marie ran a marathon each and every day. This is a great book and a great story about a woman who is so inspiring to each and every one of us. I'm Blaine DeSantis. This is Books and Looks, and today we're chatting with Marie Leautey about her new book, Lootie's World Run. Marie Leautey, welcome to Books and Looks.
Thank you for having me, Blaine. Nice to be here.
Very happy to have you. And friends, what a remarkable story Marie has for us today. She is, wow, inspirational to say the least. And, one of the things that we know is you spent 820 some days running around the world. Oh my God, around the world. And yet there's one incident when you're in Italy, when you're crossing a river with this stroller. Now, friends, she's got to go across the river. She's got to get to the other side. It's raining. It's pouring. She's got to get all her possessions to the other side. She goes across the river. She comes back to get more things. Back, forth. And yet you said it made you feel alive. It made you feel so alive. Why is that?
I think it's because when you are faced with difficulties, and in my case, the difficulty is a river in front of me, and I've got no choice but to cross it. And yes, like you say, it's frozen. It's extremely challenging. And when you know you've got no other choice than to go through it, it's exactly like in life. You have to deal with whatever life throws at you. And that's when you confront it. And in the case of my world run, it's something very physical. It makes you feel alive in a way that you inhabit every part of your body, every part of your mind, because you need to push forward no matter what. And there is a sense of feeling oneself come alive. That is, it's as best as I can describe it.
It's amazing. I mean, when I got to that scene, of course, you're in Italy, my home country, and of course, there's nothing. They don't have a bridge to get you across the road. That doesn't surprise me. And that was really a fascinating story. What do you do? What do you do? Wow. Well, anyway, now you describe yourself early on as I want to get a chain smoking, slightly overweight financial director. I can't see you as that, but you said that you were. And how is you then decide to do this? Why are our misconceptions with regard to doing something as extraordinary as this?
Well, when I was a chain smoker, overweight finance director, I think it was up until I was 26 years old. And that's when I
Okay.
discovered running. So I just picked up
Ah.
running as a hobby. I was extremely challenged by it because it was by a chance accident of life that I discovered I was unfit. Although I was smoking and overweight, I never pictured myself as being unhealthy. And one day, a couple of my friends asked me to go around for a short run with them. And I jumped in saying, yeah, sure, I'll follow you. And I couldn't even go round the first 500 meter or so. And I was shocked because I didn't know I was so unfit and so unhealthy. So this is my first shock, really, when I decided to get back to a more healthy way of life. And the idea of the world run came about 14 years later. I was just short of 40 years old when the idea came to me in a moment of serendipity, which I talk about in the book. And I just thought, wow, when the idea comes, and it's in your mind, and you're like, what? Running around the world? I was just taken by it. I thought, what a wonderful trip that would be. What a great adventure.
Yeah.
for my life. And I couldn't think of anything else than that after the idea came to my mind. So I just went with it.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That's just I just and now to go friends, we all know she can't run around the world. You can't go over the oceans and all that stuff. But so are there rules for this? I mean, what type of rules are there to qualify for being an around the world runner?
Yeah, that's right. The rules. That's actually one of the first things I did when I had the idea was to check what exactly is a run around the world. And it helped me a lot that there is there is an association called the World Runners Association, WRA, and they maintain a set of rules. There are about 10 of them. And to
Mhm.
date, we're only 7 members in the world. So it's not much. It must be the smallest running club on earth. So the rules stipulate that, for instance, a run around the world, you have to cross a minimum of 4 continents
Okay.
from side to side, from ocean to ocean.
Okay.
Except, of course, Europe doesn't end with an ocean, but Europe ends in Istanbul in Turkey or with the Ural Mountains. It's a different,
Mhm.
but that's the only continent. Otherwise, it's from ocean to ocean. So run
Right.
minimum 4, you can run more if you want, in a continuous way. So that means when I'm
Ah.
running daily, wherever I start my run in the evening, that's the exact point I've got to start my run the next day. So that will be a
Okay.
continuous line across the continent. It has to be in one direction. So you choose east to west or west to east and you stick to it. Um, a funny rule is that you have to pass by 2 antipodal points. That's 2 points that are directly opposite on the surface of the planet. And there are not so many of them because the planet is actually 70%
Mhm.
water. So it's very difficult to find one of these points. Anyways, there were
Right.
about 10 rules, and they helped me shape this journey, prepare the
Mhm.
journey, because without these rules, I would have been a bit lost as to how do you do it? What does
Mhm.
qualify for a run around the world?
Mhm.
So
You
yeah,
just
I went with the rules.
you just don't start running one day. There's preparation for this. You have to chart a route, I'm assuming, in advance?
Well, some people don't chart the whole thing. They have an idea of where they start on a continent and when they end up, and they do it a bit on the fly. But I'm a very organized and pragmatic person in a way. I like to have
Mhm.
a plan, even if the plan is gonna uh, completely explode halfway through my
Right.
adventure, which it did because of COVID. I like to know that there is a feasible route that allow me to say stop in some villages to get some supplies,
Right.
some water, etc. So I had charted. It took me a long, long time, many, many months. My preparation in total lasted 2 years before I felt ready to launch. So I had plotted my route. I had figured out the financial because I was self-financed as well, so I needed
Mhm.
to put money on
Mhm.
the table for that, and to be
Yeah.
ready physically as well. It took me around about 2 years.
Wow. So you just don't start running. You gotta have a plan, and you gotta get ready and everything else. And you gotta run some marathons because you run on this route you're running a marathon every day. That just blows my mind, and that's you say in your book that 50 to 70% of the people who train for a single marathon get injured training for that marathon. You run 607 marathons, and you don't have a problem. You don't have any issues really. But then you have something called a body scan, which I think really helped you. Could you explain the whole situation about that?
Yeah, basically the concept behind is if I was following all the precepts of the concepts in the world of running, I would end up injured just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So I really paid a lot of attention to the anatomy, to the physiology, to the biomechanics, to understand
Uh-huh.
how the body is supposed to move, and how I can have an acute sense of how I can control my movements. So I worked a bit with a physiotherapist as well to help me reprogram the way I land uh, for each stride to make sure
Mhm.
it's efficient and it's the softest possible impact on my body. And
Mhm.
by the way, just you're not supposed to hit the ground with the heel, but with the
Okay.
padded bits under your
Ah,
toes, which is called the ball of the
okay.
foot. That's what is supposed to cushion. And that's, if you
Okay.
do it properly, you minimize the risk of injury. So I paid a lot of attention to it. And the body scan that you mentioned, I developed it. So every day when I was about 5, 10 minutes into my run, I would start running my scan. And this means mentally saying, okay, how are my toes? Is there something? Is there some chafing? Is there anything? No, all fine. Okay, now the underneath of my foot, how is it? And then I would pick every body part from the tip of my toes until the base of my neck and paying attention to any signal that my body would be sending, knowing that the reason why most people who run get injured is that they are told to ignore the signals. Because, of course,
Huh.
no pain, no gain, If you
Yeah,
want to
right.
progress, that means you've got to go through some pain, and the body, that's the way of the body of adjusting,
Mhm.
which I completely disagree with, And if it was to be in pain for 2 years and a half, I
Yeah.
wouldn't go and run around the world because I don't have an appetite for pain. So this body scan really helped me connect with my body, what it's sending me, and I would have to adjust to it. If I'm doing, for instance, if I'm running too much on a gravel road or something, and my
Mhm.
body starts to feel it and feel uncomfortable, then I would go back to the road. Or if there is too much uphill, downhill, whatever, you have to understand what causes the tensions, what causes the body to send a signal and respond to it. So, and I believe that's what kept me healthy. How else would I explain 700 marathons without a single injury?
That just is amazing because I know people who have trained, and I know they've been injured, and it's like, "Really?" And people get excited for a what we call here a turkey trot, which is 5 kilometers. "Oh, I'm doing a turkey trot." Okay. And they get injured doing that. So and the thing is, you're not 18, you weren't 22, you were 40, 42 when you're doing this. This is amazing. My God, Marie, that's just fantastic. It's just amazing. Wow, it's inspirational. But, you start way the heck out in Portugal. You can't get any further than you were in Portugal, and you start running across Europe, running with a purpose, okay? And all of a sudden, all of a sudden, COVID hit. The pandemic hits. What happens to your run at that time?
Well, I was just like everybody else. I was dumbfounded, and I was in the middle of crossing Italy, and Italy became
Mhm,
the first country in the world to declare a national lockdown. So from one day to another, 16th of March 2020, as I checked into my hotel, I'm given a piece of paper that says all the hotels are closing tomorrow. Movement is forbidden. So we advise that you go back to the airport and go back to your whatever, your home country. So I didn't quite know what to do. So I had to pack and stop the world run. Like it was completely unexpected. And I had
mhm,
been only 3 months into the world run. So, it's very early in the journey for anything that big to happen. So I end up relocating to where my parents live in Paris.
mhm,
But of course, like everybody else, I get stuck at home because even in Paris, the lockdown applied just a few days later. And so you're not allowed to leave your home. You're not allowed to go outside for training. And I had to maintain a running form of running a marathon a day. So I tried everything I could. I applied on all the platforms of benevolent work or whatever, thinking, if I've got a job to do, I will be able to commute. I will be able to move to run maybe. And
mhm,
I found this job, non paid job, of course, whereby my role was to distribute meals to the homeless living in the street of Paris. So I said, okay, I'm taking the job. I will do that. All the lunches and dinner will be delivered. But I'm asking for one thing is that my means of transportation is running and that I carry the meal in my stroller like when I run around the world.
mhm,
They
mhm.
accepted. And so I ended up running all day, 5, 6 hours in the street of Paris, distributing meals, being completely free in a way, and being
Yeah,
useful, which was very
yeah,
important to me as well, is to do something
yeah.
useful because I had nothing else than running.
Did you have to wear a mask?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Whenever you
Okay,
collect the meals, you had to wear the mask and when you deliver
okay.
them as well. But in the meantime, when I was running, I was
No,
running mask free. I would
okay.
just need
I
contact.
I can imagine that would be very difficult to run with a mask on. Wow.
Oh,
I couldn't
impossible. Yeah, I think.
I think you'd pass out after a while. But well, that's really fascinating. That's the dedication you had for this run. Well, now, and when the COVID, they let you do again, let you go again. Did you go back to that spot in Italy, or did you? How did that work out?
I went back to the exact same
I said, okay,
spot where I was in Italy and when I had stopped the run. And I
Okay.
continued. And
All right.
of course, after a few months, I was caught with the second wave of lockdown, which happened in November, December. So I had to put the world run on hold again. And I continued running. But the difficulty after that became that Europe was a puzzle at that time because some
Yeah.
countries were in lockdown, some countries were open. So you could cross some borders, some you could not. So I could not go in a straight line anymore. I had to circumnavigate around the borders, around the regulation of the countries that some were open or closed. So
Yeah.
instead of lasting 6 months and a half, my journey across the first continent, Europe, lasted a year and a half
Oh
and
my word.
15,500 kilometers of running. Imagine, I've done all this running. I've just crossed my first continent. And I'm like, Jesus, there are another 3 continents to cross. What is it going to be like? Thank God after that it was
Wow.
better.
Wow. Wow. You made it to Istanbul or across somewhere in Turkey. And were you ever supposed to go across Asia? Did this lockdown change things for you?
Yeah, I was supposed to then continue with a bit of Asia and then go straight to Oceania, Australia, New Zealand,
Okay.
and then in a west to east direction, so
Mhm.
North America, South America, and back to Europe. Of course, Asia was completely closed. So I went back to the rules that said minimum 4 continents. So I said, okay,
Mhm.
fine. So then there will be Europe, Oceania, North America, South America. Unfortunately, that meant I had to give up the bit of Asia that I had planned because I
Right.
wanted to step on more continents than just the bare
Right.
minimum. But I had to. Asia was closed for so long. And even Australia had to bypass it for a while because it was closed for
Right.
2 years.
Yep. They
So,
were very tough.
so I had a special exemption to bypass until
Yeah.
it reopened.
Okay. So you end up back in North America next, if I'm not
Oh, that
mistaken.
was brilliant.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Well, now, it wasn't just you running. You had a companion, a stroller. You took a stroller with you. Now, this is amazing. You carry a stroller well, okay, you push a stroller for 2 years. That's amazing. Everything you have is in there. What does that teach you about freedom and all the possessions that we have and how that affects us?
Yeah, my life for these 2 years and a half was lived in a very minimalistic way. I was only carrying maybe 3 t-shirts for my running, 3 pairs of shorts and everything, 1 pair of shoe only, and one clean, like a jean and a t-shirt for when I'm not running to have my
Mhm.
civilian clothes, I called it. And I had a computer on board because I needed to post all my updates and share all my GPS and satellite location live because
Mm.
to verify the run. So at the end of the day, I'm really living with nothing. I mean, 1 pair of shoe, and I
Wow.
missed nothing at all. There was not a day where I thought, I don't know, I miss a pair of shoe or a handbag or a dress and I had more than I needed. I was filled with everything every day because it's the adventure. It's this
Yeah.
completely crazy run I'm doing.
Wow.
It's the meeting of people, it's the discovering of all these landscapes, of all these countries, all these cultures. This fills you. And when you are filled with all this,
Mhm.
anything else becomes irrelevant,
Right.
unimportant.
So you pushed this stroller for 2.5 years. As a matter of fact, the most significant injury you had was pushing the stroller. Yeah, why was that?
It's the only injury I had, not just the most significant. It's the only one.
Okay,
And
the
actually,
only
it's
one. There
very
you go.
important, interesting, because we talked about the body scan earlier. And in my body scan, when I was analyzing all parts of my bodies from my toes to my neck, the only part I was not doing, because I think I didn't think of it as being part of the biomechanic of running, was my arms and hands. Now, I was running a marathon a day, pushing 30 kilos ahead of me because the stroller itself is about 12 kilos empty. And plus, I put my bag of belongings, my camping equipment, my water, my food. So, altogether, you arrive at about 30 kilos, give or take. And I'm pushing that. So, that means I'm grabbing the handlebar, pushing, releasing the handlebar, grabbing again. So, you're doing that with 30 kilos all day long, like 5 or 6 hours a day.
Wow.
And of course, I didn't think that it could do any harm. But indeed, I had some problem with my fingers. Now it's all sorted. But during the run, yeah, it became an issue at some point that my fingers, I had
Wow.
too much of it. So I had
Yeah.
to find a way to not injure myself further.
Wow. That's remarkable. Pushing, not just running, but pushing 30 kilometers and kilos a day. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, now, um, one of the things that you talk about with your companion, the stroller, is that you had to get a certain type of stroller. It had to be able to withstand a lot of heavy duty running. And you write the stroller company about maybe they want to be a sponsor. What they had to think about that?
That was so funny. So that was, of course, before I launched onto my world, and I was trying to see if I could get any financial help because I was
Hmm.
paying for everything myself, putting all my savings on the line. So I thought, "Oh, maybe the stroller." And some of my friends were like, "Yeah, you ought to find some sponsors. You know, people ought to be interested in your project." So I wrote to the stroller company saying that, this stroller is going to go around the world. I mean, what a good advertisement it would be for you to say that your stroller can run tens of thousands of kilometers, that it is so sturdy and solid and everything, and reliable and trusted. And I said, on top of that, so it will be the fastest run around the world by a woman. It will be the first stroller to go around the world. I was really trying to wrap it in
Right.
something quite exciting. And I received an email back from that company, probably written by their lawyer, saying that the use I intend to do of this stroller is not covered by the guidelines of the manufacturer. And if anything happened to me using this stroller the way I do, they decline all form of responsibility. So I was just laughing out loud, thinking, really, you don't see the magic of running around the
No,
world? You replied to me something so
no.
stern and so off in a way, and I just laughed at it, and I said, "It's okay, I will pay
Yeah.
you for that."
Now, did that stroller make it with you all the way around the world? Or did you need to get a spare?
The first one ended its life after 17,000 kilometers in I think it was in Ellensburg, Montana. And
Hmm.
yep, it finished its course there because it was all loose and tired. So, and by sheer luck, I found another one at the local pawn shop that was for sale and that was brand
Okay.
new. So I got my second one, the replacement one, and it
Wow.
went through to the end with me. But I think 17,000 kilometers for a stroller
Yeah.
has to be a world record in itself. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
that
sure.
might be. Now, that company didn't contact you after the run was over and say, "Hey, we think you should come on and be our sponsor." They didn't say that, did they?
Oh gosh, yeah, I should have been their ambassador, worldwide
Yeah,
ambassador for their stroller.
exactly. Oh
They
my
must have
god. Wow.
been there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was was it a 3, wheeled stroller or a 3 wheel? So, you had the one up front and 2 in the back? Okay.
Very sturdy
Wow.
one. It had shock absorbers on the side. It has
Oh my
very good
god.
tires. It was so
Okay.
good. All weather, all terrains. It crossed all the chains of mountains in the US, the Rockies, the Appalachian.
Wow.
It crossed all the chains of mountains in Europe as well. No,
That's
very good.
that's
I could have done very good advertisement for them.
that's great.
Snooze, you
That's
lose.
wonderful. Hey, one of the things I found fascinating is that you gave up using this. You stopped using a watch. You got your body developed its own internal pace. How did that come about, and how does that help you?
Yeah, I think also, when I was studying why do so many runners get injured, I was going around all the cause that stresses us, our body, to get injured. And I think having your run be dictated by numbers is a cause of stress and pushing past sometimes the point
Mm,
where you're comfortable. If I was going to run for 2 years and a half, um, I wanted to disconnect myself from numbers. The only numbers that mattered to me was how many kilometers have I covered so far. And today,
mhm,
that's all. But if you become obsessed with speed and
mhm.
with the value of numbers, what happens is that you are getting your reward for your effort. Your reward comes
Right.
in numbers. So some days they are
Mhm,
good, some days they are bad. And I
mhm.
didn't want to have to deal with that. I wanted to
Nope.
enjoy every single day, whatever the pace I'm running at.
Right.
So I sort of worked on the psychology of that. And I decided early on that I was to be very sure where I get my reward from in this journey.
Okay.
And in this journey, the rewards are from being on an incredible adventure, seeing new things every day, being on roads I've never been on, discovering a new sunset over a new landscape every evening and vice versa in the
Mhm.
morning, meeting new people, making connection and discovering the local fauna and flora. With this as my rewards, I was ticking them every day. So my reward box in my mind was full every day.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even if I'm crossing the Andes and I'm going at 4,000 meters of altitude, and of course I'm slower. Yes, I'm running up
Mhm.
a damn mountain.
Mhm.
So I'm not. This is not a number giving me feedback. This is the incredible sensation of running in one of the most mythical mountain in the world, crossing it
Yeah.
myself, and this is an incredible reward. And
Mhm.
I discovered that when I do that, I let my body find its own pace because there is no number telling whether I'm not do it fast enough or not fast enough.
Mhm.
And I end up running in the most natural way, listening to my body, getting the proper rewards. And yes, it comes without looking at numbers.
Wow. That's amazing. But and you make a point by saying you were never lonely. You may have been alone, but you were never lonely. That's fascinating. Explain that theory.
I think I'm not lonely when I cross the world, when I cross countries and continents, because
Mhm.
this adventure I am on, it's it's not just about the running. It's not about the running at all. It's about getting to a new place every day. It's
Mhm.
about making connection with the people who live there. It's about uh, eating the local food and drinking
Mhm.
the local brews. Sometimes it's about
Mhm.
um, having the luxury to take a break in my run because I'm seeing some kangaroos bouncing in the background or
Right.
to listen to a bird. I have this incredible luxury to be so connected to the world around me. There is no space for feeling lonely, no space for it. My curiosity is aroused all the time by
Mhm.
various things, and all my senses are capturing the emotions of the world.
Wow.
It fills me. There's no
Mhm.
loneliness there.
Wow. That's great. That's really that's really wonderful. You had many experiences, you met many people. You you know, you talked about when you ran, okay? Did you ever have to run through any snowstorms or blizzards or anything like that?
Yeah, especially in Europe, I had my first winter was really, really harsh. And
Uh-huh.
actually, that's the only time I had snow, but I had some very bad snow in the Ardennes Mountains, which are south of
Mhm. Yeah.
Belgium. And yeah, I couldn't see ahead of me. There was snow
Yeah.
on the road, like, and I was pushing this stroller through this thing. I don't even know how I made it, but and I saw that this day. I remember in the middle of this snowstorm, I thought, but what if I want to stop my run earlier than the hotels I've booked or something? And but I couldn't even. The condition was so bad I couldn't even get my phone out of the pocket it was in because it was so bad. So I thought, well, I just have to follow the road until I reach the hotels for
Wow.
the night, and that's that. Yeah, yeah, there was some complication.
That is something you ran through all this. And I there's many more questions that you have here, but I wanna jump to one which the only time you had a physical issue was you were almost near the end, if I'm not mistaken, and you got COVID. How did you get COVID?
This is crazy. I mean, I ran through the pandemic and everything, and I didn't even get sick once during this world run. And I'm 10 days from my arrival in Sydney, Australia. 10 days? And
Yeah.
I I go through this run where I don't understand how tired I am. I mean, throughout the run, I have to stop, lay by the side of the road. I'm like, I've been running for 2 years and a half. I've never had anything like that. I don't get that tired. What's going on? And then when I arrive at the place where I was supposed to arrive, I did a test, and it so happened that we had just left Melbourne on the way to Sydney. And in Melbourne, I was staying at somebody's place, and that lady had informed me that she had caught COVID. And of course, she has passed it on to me as well. And
Oh.
fortunately, probably because of the shape I was in, or maybe just my DNA, I don't know. Except these journeys, these days that was particularly hard and tiring, I was able to run without any impact through to the end. So that was very lucky because if I had been delayed, I mean, everybody, my parents were waiting for me in Sydney. They had made the journey around the world to go and see me there. So that would have been a pity to be late for
Wow.
that occasion.
By the way, that was neat. That was one of the really neat things in your book. Your mom and dad and your relatives tried to meet you at all these different spots to cheer you on, to see how it's going. That's great. Did you know that was gonna happen when you first started?
Well, I knew that it was gonna happen, but I thought it would happen more, to be fair to you, because when I started telling my family that I was gonna go on a run around the world, none of them were surprised. You know, they could have said, "Oh, that's a crazy idea." Well, and they were all like, "Oh, yeah, wonderful. So, do you know where you are gonna run? Where can we meet you for some vacation?" They were
Yeah.
planning their holiday around my world run. I was like, "Hold on." So I knew that they were very keen to come and see me here and there. We are four siblings and my parents are still very active. So I was looking forward to it. Unfortunately, and because of the COVID situation that developed only 3 months into my run, I had a lot less visits than I expected. But my parents made a point to try to be there at the end of the continents
Right.
whenever they were allowed to do so. So they were there in New York with me,
Mhm.
and they were also in Washington, D.C. with me, which was fabulous. And they were there at the end of my world run in Sydney, Australia, which was, I mean, it's a shared moment, so we know the
Yeah.
emotion that was there. It's beautiful.
No doubt about it. Wow. That's really great that they were there. And this still, as we're talking, something comes in the back of my mind. Something comes in the back of my mind. Didn't wasn't your grandfather supposed to inherit something in Australia and got into some fight in New York, and you just find that tell us that story. What was that all about?
It's a crazy story. It's my great grandfather.
Oh, great. Okay.
He used to live he was living in Swiss Italy. That's the part of Italy that is near north of Milan,
Right. Mhm.
Lago di Como and all that. And and he went with the wave of immigrants that came around about 1897, I think he came, or something like that,
Mhm.
just before 1900.
Mhm.
So he came to New York by boat, and then he was part of the immigrants working. He went to California and all that. And then he learned that he had an inheritance somewhere. But for some strange reason, you would have seen that to go to Australia, you would take a boat from California. But he went all the way back to New York and he was supposed to go on board a big ship. And then he was Italian in the worst way, like having tantrums and he had a fight because there was a strike that day in New York where he was supposed to go on the boat. And he ended up being thrown in the water and was picked up by a boat that was en route to somewhere else. So that was the end of his traveling days. There were all the crazy people in the family before me.
Yeah, I can that's what I was trying to figure out. Why did he go to New York? Nothing from San Francisco, LA? I don't know, but hey, back he goes. Oh, that's a neat family story you have there.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, most of the time you are running by yourself, but you get a surprise when somebody who you knew, a gentleman of James, asks if he can join you in South America. Why did he want to join you?
Well, it was not completely his decision. What happened is that I had been running for 2 years already completely alone. So crossing Europe and then crossing North America. I think I was in the middle of the Montana crossing or North Dakota.
Mhm.
And I get the news that my friend James has lost his house in the fires in Greece. His beautiful
Mm.
house completely burned down to the ground. So I sent him a message to say how sorry I was, and I made a little joke along the lines that you can live a very happy life without any possession. I've been living for 2 years with a little stroller and with almost nothing, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. So we start talking like that, and then at some point I said to him, "Look, you don't have a house, you don't have any immediate plans about what to do next. I could use some help because on my next continent, which is South America, I'm going
Mhm.
to have to cross the Andes mountains
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
run up to 4,000 meter of altitude. And if I could do it without having to push my stroller, that would be really, really, really helpful." And he said, "Oh, okay, hang on a minute. Yeah, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could come and join you for the crossing of the Andes." I said, "Yeah, great." And then a few days later, he says, "Look, if I'm going to cross the Andes with you, I want to cross the whole South American continent with you, not just the Andes." So I was like
Okay.
taken by surprise, but I said, "Well, why not? At least this journey is going to be shared with someone. It's a
Yeah.
big game changer for me. To
Yeah.
share it with someone live. And
Mhm.
so after a few days and nights and runs thinking about it, I said, "Yes, sure, let's do that." So he came. He came all the way to South America, and we crossed South America all together. And then he said, "Well, now you just have Australia to run. I'd rather as well go with you in
There you
Australia to
go.
make sure you're safe." Yeah, okay, fine. So he crossed
Okay.
two
But
continents with.
very neat. I like that. That's really fun, because it is such a difference going from by yourself to now having somebody you're working with in a team almost, a partner, and, that's really, that really helped, I think at that
Yeah,
point.
I mean, I
Yeah.
thought nothing of being alone. I was perfectly happy
No.
being alone. But when suddenly the idea starts forming that, hold on, maybe someone else can accompany me. And I started thinking of all the good things that should come with it. Like, oh, then I
Mhm.
will have memories of this journey to share with someone else. So when the run is over,
Right.
we can reminisce about crossing the Andes or Australia or other things. I said,
Yeah.
that's, yeah, that's something I would like, to have somebody to talk to about this thing. Somebody who
Mhm.
has a memory of it as well, not just me.
Wow.
And it was brilliant. And yeah, he became
Wha
my partner.
Well, you have a lot. I mean, and this book is loaded, friends, with fascinating stories of kind people, some strange people, but everything that's going on out there in the world. But you have a few stories that just stick out in my mind, and I wonder if you just tell us a little bit about it. You met one lady up in, I'm not sure it was Minnesota or Montana, who comes up to you weeping, and gives you something. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, I mean, I was crossing. It was North Dakota. I was reaching. I think
Oh,
I was near Jamestown, and a local paper had published a story about me. Sometimes when I go in a small town and they see me coming with my
mhm,
stroller, and somebody informs a local journalist. Anyway, so the story was published about my world run, and on the front page, I was there, with my pink hat, my pink T-shirt, and my stroller, so very recognizable. And the next day, yeah, there was this car on the side of the interstate that stopped right in front of me, and this woman comes out in floods of tears, and she falls in my arms. She hugs me. She said, thank you," and I don't understand what's going on. And then she starts telling me her story. So this mother she's a grieving mother. Her only son died exactly 1 year ago, so it's the first anniversary of his death, which is
mm,
a terrible ordeal for this woman. And she said, "I took my car this morning. I didn't know what to do. I'm, I'm so sad. I was looking for a sign that life is worth living." You can imagine my shock. And she says, "I read your story yesterday in the paper. I never thought I would see you." And then she pulled something from a bag. She said, and it's a little piece of fabric with the name of her son and the date of birth and death.
mhm.
She puts it in my hand and she says, "Can you promise me that you will take this on your journey through to the end with you?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, of course. It will be with me through to the end of this journey." And then she left and she was smiling and she was thanking me. And then I realized that through this simple gesture, what she did is that she will be able to think about her son
Mhm,
on a wonderful woman who's going around
mhm.
the world. It sort of
Yeah.
shifts where she
Wow.
sees her son. And it
Yeah.
was incredibly touching and very moving. To this day, when I talk about it, I've got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't know her name or anything about her? She just came up to you and, gave you this little bit of stitching. That's amazing, and it went with you the whole way, and, that's fascinating, very neat. Now I
Yeah,
wanna
I was.
change from
Yeah.
yeah, from the sad, let's go to sort of the bizarre. You're crossing my old home state, Pennsylvania, and you come across a drunken raccoon. What's that all about?
I know. I had no idea. And especially, I'm European. I'm not familiar with raccoons. We don't have them in Europe. Or I've never seen them. And then, yeah, so I'm running by the side of the road, and then I spot this raccoon completely deoriented in the middle of the road. So I go and I try to help him. I'm not sure if it's a dangerous animal, if I should be scared that it's going to bite me or scratch me. And so a local guy comes to help me with a piece of cardboard. We're trying to move him around. And then traffic starts piling up because meanwhile traffic can't go through because we can't get this raccoon off the road. And then comes a local police guy with his police car. And he steps out and he sees and he looks and he says, "Ah, another damn," or something, "another damn drunken raccoon." And I'm like, "What?" And actually, what happened is that the fruit, of course, I didn't know that the fruits, when they fall off it was autumn fall.
Mhm.
They fall off the trees and they start the fermentation process, which starts creating alcohol. And these creatures are so small, they eat them and then they get drunk on it. I thought it was extremely bizarre. I mean, I've never heard of that before.
I never heard of it till your story. Wow.
There you go.
I thought that I thought that was bizarre, and then you go to Australia, and they won't let you in. They say, "No." Why why did they deny you entrance?
They didn't deny me entrance. They let me in, but I had to pay a
Mm.
fee for it. What happened is that, okay, I cut the short story, but during my travel through South America, so I'm traveling with James, and there is one thing I don't like about James is that he loves onions, and I am repulsed by the smell of onion. So it starts a little joke between him and I. Like every day, he has like this little spring onion that he stuffs somewhere in my pack. So sometimes I find it in my running shoes or with my toothbrush or somewhere in my luggage. And always when I find it somewhere, I place it back somewhere in his luggage. So it's a little prank, right? Nothing too
Mhm.
serious. And it just travels, the onion travels for 3 months between his luggage and mine. Except when we traveled to Australia, we had completely forgotten about that onion. And but it turns out we go to the border control in Australia, and notoriously they ask you that you carry no foreign product with you, no meat, no vegetable, no nothing. So we have to fill this declaration, and I feel that yes, I believe that to the best of my knowledge, I am not carrying anything, blah, blah. And James says the same. Unfortunately, we are picked up by the biohazard team, and they ask us to open our bag. And when I see the security officer opening the top of James' luggage, it comes back to my mind. I'm like, "Stop! I know what you're gonna find. You're gonna find a dead onion, and I'm really sorry." And I start explaining the story, except they don't find it funny at all. And for that onion, I was charged $2,600
Oh my
for
god.
a dead onion.
A
Anyway,
dead
after the
onion.
quick contest, there was nothing I could do because it's either you accept and you pay the fee and the fine, or you are not allowed through, and I can kiss my
Wow.
world run goodbye. So I
Absolutely.
was very upset because damn, it was an onion and I was a very good face.
Yeah.
But that day, that person was
Good
not very
story.
lenient.
Great story, though. Yep. Now, I have so much I got a couple more questions I gotta ask you, though. What was harder, running through the deserts of Australia or up and down those mountains in the Andes?
Um, None was hard, but if I have to choose, I would say that probably the desert, but it was not really a desert. No, because crossing the Andes, as physically tough as it
Yeah.
was so beautiful that it's actually one of my, if not the best memory of the world run.
Wow.
So, but the desert,
Were you still pushing the cart? Were you still pushing the stroller with you?
no, because I had James who was
Ah,
here.
James. Okay.
Yes,
Wow.
so I
I
was.
I can't imagine going up the Andes pushing 30 kilograms of material. Oh my
It
god.
would have been possible, and the plan was to do it without James anyways, but it was a relief
Wow.
when he
Yeah.
offered to help, and I thought, yeah, that was gonna be much better without the 30 kilos.
Okay. You got to the end of the continent of Australia, which was your fourth continent, North America, South America, Europe, Australia, Oceania. And then you realize you got to go to New Zealand. Be-
I didn't realize, I
That's
knew I had to, yeah.
You knew you had to. Okay.
No, I
I,
knew to
I thought it
that's
caught you by
part of the 10
surprise.
rules. That's part of the 10 rules that
Okay.
I had to run through 2 opposite points on the planet, and there are not so many. And mine was between Spain. So basically, if you dig a hole in Spain, in the town of Ronda, and you keep digging through the center of the earth and past it, you will end up in Auckland, New Zealand. So I had to
Okay.
run my final run through Auckland, New Zealand. So I knew I had to do
Okay.
it, but it was
There
a
you go.
small run.
Two continents that you missed. Asia, because you had wanted to, didn't get there, and Africa. Are you going to go back to try to run those?
That's yeah. I'd say I think one day I will want to. I'm not in a hurry because I'm doing
Hmm.
other things than running at the moment. I've got
Hmm.
other passions in life to feed. Um, but yes, definitely. And I love the African continent. I've been there several times for work, and yes, I think it would be a fun. For me, is it going to be a great adventure? And I think definitely Africa will be a great adventure. Asia as well.
Hmm.
I used to live in Asia, and I know that running through all these different cultures, and yes, that also would be a great adventure. So
Okay, that's anything. So you're still running, but not as marathon-y as you were doing it, right? You're still running?
no, 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 no. Yeah, I run to keep in shape and because I like it,
Mhm.
obviously. but uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm doing other adventures. I'm
good.
doing some adventure on bike a lot. I enjoy cycling a lot, sailing as well. Since I live
Mm,
in Greece, it's quite ideal for that. So still,
yeah,
still very much in
yeah,
love of whatever adventure I get on with
that's
and
great,
enjoying it.
great.
Yeah.
Well, that brings you to a Greek poem. Ithaca has a quote about the journey being more important than the destination. Tell us just a little bit about that to wrap this up.
Yeah, such a beautiful poem, and it was written by a Greek poet called Constantine Cavafy, and it was talking about when Ulysses finishes his journey and he comes
Mhm,
back to his homeland in Ithaca
mhm,
in Greece, and
right.
the poem starts with when you launch on this journey, hope that your road is going to be a long one. Because yes, this is the best part of the journey is being on the
Mhm,
journey and it goes on and it says that you shouldn't carry your fears with you. Get rid of your fears because your fears are what is going to make it impossible or
mhm,
non-enjoyable. So you know if you carry your fears, the object of it you're going to meet. But if you don't carry
mhm,
your fears, and look at me, I've been 2 years around the world. I'm still alive. I've not been attacked. I've not been raped. I've not been chased. I've not been nothing. The world is a lot safer than we are led to believe, and it's
mhm,
just feeding the fear, feeds this idea that the world is a dangerous place. But if you
mhm.
move away from that, what you get to see is the beauty of the world and the
Wow.
humanity of its people. So he says that. And at the end of the poem, Constantine Cavafy says, when you've reached Ithaca, don't expect anything. She has nothing else to give you because she has given you everything by putting you on the road. And again, it
Mhm,
resonated with me because I had put also all my savings on the line
mhm.
for this
Yeah.
journey. I finished this journey with empty pockets, not a dime in
Mhm.
my pocket.
Wow.
And yet I'm the happiest I've ever been.
See.
I know I'm going to
Yeah.
find a way to bounce back and it's the least of my worry. I am so rich of this unique, incredible journey that nobody will ever be able to take away from me. It's
Eh,
not something that can be even stolen. And I have
that's
that
right.
for the rest of my life. And I'm the luckiest, richest person on earth. I felt this way. I feel this way. No millions of dollars is gonna
Yeah.
make me feel happier than my journey. No way. If tomorrow you tell me it's $1 million and you go back on your journey, I go back on my
Yep.
journey without without hesitation.
Right,
So this
great.
poem for me was epitomized everything, embodied everything that was so great about this
Mhm.
journey.
Great. Well, this is the book, friends. There it is, Lootie's World Run. Sorry if we get some light here on hitting it, but Lootie's World Run by Marie Leautey, okay? And, this is the book. It's out wherever you can get books. It's a great book. It's a simple read. It's it's a fascinating read. Lots of stuff in it that I took to heart, and I'll tell you, I think you can take it too. So anyway, Marie, I wanna say thank you so much for being with us today on Books and Looks.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Well, if there's one thing I hope you take away from this conversation with Marie is that transformation isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully your own self. Her journey from smoking a pack of cigarettes a day to running around the world wasn't magic. It was a compound effect of showing up each and every day for something that mattered to her. Her book, Lootie's World Run, the extraordinary true story of the fastest woman to have ever run around the world, and you can find it wherever books are sold. Again, she's one of only 7 people in the entire world to have ever run around this amazing planet. And with that, another episode of Books and Looks is in the books. On behalf of all of us here at Books and Looks, as well as our partner at bookstrib.com, thanks for letting me be a part of your reading journey. I'll be back with you next week with a new edition of Books and Looks.